to channel. Today we will see types of variables in Java. Basically, there are three types of variables in Java: instance, class or static, and last one is local variable. Now we will see about instance variables in Java. Variables which are declared inside the class are known as an instance variable. But the difference is that the instance variables are declared with data type, variable name, semicolon. For example, in this class test, we have two integer variable, one float variable. These are known as a instance variable of the class. Now, as we know that the memory is allocated to object of a class depending on the number of variable of the class and the data type of the variable. For example, if here are two object of a class O1 and O2, so how many bytes will be allocated for O1? So for O1, total of 12 bytes will be reserved. T1, T2, and average. For these three variables, 4 bytes each, so total 12 bytes of memory will be allocated for O1, same for O2. Now, what are the characteristics of instance variable? If you can observe, this T1, T2, and average variable are instance variable. So, whenever we create object of class, every time the memory will be allocated to the instance variable. Separate copy for each object will be created of this instance variable. For example, now there will be two copies of this T1. Why so? Because there are two objects. So when I will create a third object O3, again a separate copy of T1, T2 and average variable will be created. Every time memory is allocated to instance variable. If I create next object O4, again memory will be allocated to T1, again for T2 and again for average. Now value of instance variable will be different for different object. For example, this T1, T2 will be having different values for the object. Now the test 1 marks of first student will be different from the test 1 marks of second student. Likewise, the test 2 marks will be different for every student of the class. So the value of instance variable is or can be different for different object. Now these instance variable are declared with the syntax like data type, variable name, semicolon. These instance variables are associated with the object of the class. Object is instance of a class. That's why such kind of variables which are declared with data type, variable name, are also known as a instance variable of the class. Now how this variable will be accessed outside the class? Because inside the class and their functions, these variables will be accessed by name only, like T1 is equal to 5, T2 is equal to 3 in any get or show or cal function. But when we have to access this T1 and T2 variable outside the class, like in the main function, we can access that by using object of a class. For example, I want to change the value of T2 of O2 object. So in main, I will write O2 dot T2 is equal to 15. So the T2 value of O2 object will become 15. So instance variables are accessed using object of a class. Now, what is the scope? Means what is the lifetime of instance variable? Means throughout the program where this instance variable will be accessed and how. So these instance variable are accessible throughout the program, but within class they are accessed directly. Means just by name, no need of object. But outside the class, these instance variable are accessed using object of the class. Like we have seen over here, like O2 dot T2 is equal to 15. Second type of variable is class or static variable. Variable which are declared inside the class but with static keyword are known as a static or class variable. Same class example here. Now I have declared one variable sp, integer type, but that declaration is preceded with the keyword static. Now T1, T2 average are instance variable because there is no static keyword before them. But for SP variable, the static keyword is there. That's why it is a static or class variable. Now, when and why to declare any variable as a static? Consider now for the student, we have to consider the test 1 and test 2 marks, and we have to calculate average considering the test 1, test 2 and sports marks. Now suppose every student is getting sports marks as a 5. So every student will get 5 marks as a sports marks in addition to their test marks, and the average will be calculated. So now suppose if I have declared this sports marks variable like a normal or instance variable, what will happen? Now when we create object of the class, like we had created O1 and O2. So how many bytes will be reserved for O1? 16 bytes. And how many variables are there? T1, T2, sports and average. So for every variable there will be a separate memory block and separate copy of each variable will be created because these are instance variable. Now the sports marks is already assigned, that is 5. So again when I create object O2, again number of copies of this instance variable will be created for T1, T2 and average, and again for sports marks, and sports mark will have the value of 5. Now suppose I have 1000 plus students, so every time the sports marks variable will be allocated memory of 4 bytes, so 1000 into 4, total 4000 bytes will be reserved for the sports marks is equal to 5 value. So it is a wastage of memory if the value of variable is common or same for every object of a class. So we are wasting memory by allocating and creating its copy again and again. So how this problem can be resolved? So whenever we have a variable with common or same value to all object of a class, then instead of declaring that variable as an instance variable, we can go for static variable. Just precede that variable declaration with the static keyword. Now it becomes a static or class variable. Now how this will make a difference? When we declare a keyword static, when we write a keyword static in front of variable, it means there is only one copy of this variable and its value will be common to all the objects of a class. For example, T1, T2, sports marks, and average. These are the variables of the class test. But SP is a static variable. So what will happen for every object? Now suppose there are two objects. So for O1 and O2, separate copy of T1, T2 and average will be created. Like here T1, T2 average, T1, T2 average. Why so? Because T1, T2 average are the instance variable. But when we declare this SP variable as a static, it means the memory will be allocated only once. So memory is allocated only once and its value is common to all object of a class. So all object of a class can access the same memory block and will be having the same value for this variable. So by using this we can allocate only 4 bytes of memory for SP variable and we can save the memory. Here in the last in the last PPT, we have seen that when we declare SP as an instance variable, there was a memory wastage. Now, what are the characteristics of static variable? Static variables are associated with class because these are not given memory inside the object. They are outside of the object. Only one copy for each object will be there for static variable. There is only one copy of this static variable for all object of a class. Memory will be allocated only once, and the value of this variable will be common or same for all object of a class even if there are n number of object of a class. How to declare this static variable? We have to declare that with the static keyword data type variable name semicolon. When we want to access this static variable outside the class, how we can access? Now suppose I want to increase the sports marks of every student. Now I want to assign 10 marks or allocate 10 marks to every student of the class. So as there is no memory for static variable inside the object, it is outside the class by using static variable that we have declared. So I cannot write o1.sp is equal to 15. o2.sp is equal to 15 because there is no memory for this sp variable inside o1 or o2 or any other object. So that are invalid statement. So how to change or how to access the variable which is static? So we can write that with the name of the class. So if I write test.sp is equal to 15, means we have to use class name dot instead of a object name. So that can be done. Now we will see a simple example of static variable where we can calculate the area of circle. Now we know that for calculation of area of circle, that is pi r square, the value of pi, that is 3.14, it's same for all over the universe for calculating the area of circle. Now what we have to do, we have to just declare the pi variable as a static. Why so? We will see example. Now this is the area of circle program, and if I declare double r double pi, and here if we set pi value as 3.14, and here if we write pi. So for calculating this area of circle, we have created object of data input stream class because we need to read input from user, the radius of circle, r variable and pi variable. These are instance variable because there is no static keyword over here. So we are seeing this program without static keyword. So in get function, we have read the radius and I have set the value of pi is equal to 3.14. Now when we write area function, calculation is done, xyz is done, and we have created two object of circle class, and we have called get function and area function. Now when we compile this program and we execute the, sorry, when we have to compile this program and run the code, now we will get the output for area of two circle. But here what has happened, this pi variable has become the instance variable, so there will be two copies of this pi. Now if we have 100 circle, so pi is equal to 3.14, pi is equal to 3.14, such allocation will be done 100 times. So we can declare this variable as a static. Just precede this declaration with the static keyword, and where we can set the value of pi variable. So outside the class we can have or access this pi variable by using class name. We cannot write C1 dot pi is equal to 3.14 because it is not associated with any object, it is associated with class. So we will write circle dot pi is equal to 3.14. So memory will be allocated only once for this pi variable, and the value is set and it is common to all the object of a class, and practically it will it will not make any difference. Only in the background there will be memory utilization. Effectively memory will be saved. Okay, now these are the concept of static variable. Next one, what is the scope or lifetime of static variable? The static or class variable can be accessible throughout the program. Within class, that can be accessed directly just by name, but outside the class, the static variable has to be accessed using class name and dot operator. Third category of variable is local variable, the variable which are declared inside the methods. For example, here we had declared instance variable, here it is one static variable, and we have a cal function. Now suppose this is the block of cal function, this is the body of the cal function. Now if I have declared one variable over here int L, it means this L is a local variable. The variable which is inside any method is known as a local variable. Now, what is the scope or lifetime of this local variable? It is accessible only within function or method body in which it is declared, not outside of that method. So, we have seen three types of variables in Java: instance, class or static, and local variable. We have seen the lifetime or scope of these three types of variable in Java. Hope you have liked this session. See you in the next session. Thank you. Bye.